Hey guys, California Phantom here. Let's talk remote 107 license. Let's demystify the process. I know there's so many different sources out there. Your head's probably already going to explode. Let's talk about the best way to do it. Let's talk about the cheapest way to do it. I'm here to dispel all the rumors. I'm not a paid endorsement. I'm not going to recommend any particular source unless it's completely free. All right, so there's a ton of different websites available to you if you're interested in getting your 107 license. Sites such as Remote Pilot 101 offers a very in-depth, very methodical, formatted option if you find it very, very difficult to just read and study on your own. But the demystifying process about all this, and it's something that I learned real quick, was that you actually don't need to spend any money. I'm not myself tied to any of these sites or recommend any one thing, though what did it for me was, the FAA website, the FAA portal offers you a study guide. It offers you everything that you need, and I basically printed out and followed that to a T. There's a free video on YouTube called Tony Northrup. If you look that person up, or you look up UAV 107 study materials, that's one of the first videos that pop up. Tony made the most comprehensive, methodically laid out, step-by-step aid in helping you get your pilot license or your 107 license that I've ever seen. It's completely free. I don't know how much longer he's going to keep it up there for free. I hope it's indefinite, but I'm telling you right now, if you use the 107, if you use the FAA portal, you download the information that you need from there, you watch the video 3, 4, 5 times, especially the day of the test, you're not going to have an issue. What are some of the problems that people have? It was something that I had.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
After I studied all the review materials from the FAA website and I watched the videos online, I downloaded a $5 app called Remote Pilot. Now, I'm not associated with that website or that app. I know it's for iOS. I'm not sure if it's for Android, but the app is laid out exactly in the same style as the actual exam that you'll be taking. That has its advantages because what I ended up scoring on the practice exams was exactly the same score as my final score for the actual FAA test. So I started at high 90s. I was at anywhere from 95 to 100% on the practice exams once I felt that I was ready to take the exam. So I called the number to schedule my 107 test, and I started getting very nervous. I'm not a very good test taker, so when I tested on the practice exams on the day of the actual exam, I actually was scoring in the high 70s, low 80s. So when I finally completed my exam, I want to say I scored like an 84. I could have done better, but again, I'm just a terrible test taker. But the process is quite simple. You think that you're under some government facility, you're under some crazy scenario, you don't know what you're walking into, and I'm going to basically explain it because not a lot of people really explain the actual physical process. Once you schedule and you call your appointment, you've made your appointment, sometimes they offer same day, you basically have to go to an airport of some kind. If it's not the actual airport, it's going to be just outside of an airport, and what they're going to do is they're going to take your ID along with your printed information, your receipt for your scheduled appointment, proving that you've paid for the appointment, which is $150, by the way, for the actual test. Once you get there, you give them that ID and they scan it. They'll take the paper, and then they want your keys, your cell phone, everything you have. They'll put it in a storage locker. They walk you to a small room. Usually it'll be empty, but sometimes if you happen to take an exam on a busy day, you might have 2 or 3 other people taking the exam at the same time as you. And you get basically 2 pencils, you get a small magnifying glass, you get a chart supplements book for the actual physical exam, and then the exam's on the computer. The exam's 60 questions, most of which, I'll give you a hint right now, you're going to need to be familiar with the map. So you want to spend a lot of time understanding what the map means the sectional chart map. You want to know what airspaces are what. You want to know what AGL, MSL, what the differences are between those two things. You want to be able to look at a tower and discern those two MSL, AGL numbers, and you want to be able to calculate what airspace you are depending on that tower. A lot of my questions involved specificities within that chart supplements. So you have that, and the second hint I can give you is be very familiar with the weather reports. They're going to have a lot of gobbledygook. You're going to look at it and go, what are these symbols? What are these numbers? Tony Northrup, he's going to lay it out for you. He's going to tell you exactly what each part means. Cram it in your head, read it twice, read it 3 times, because on my particular test, I want to say I had 4 or 5 questions that were related to that. So as far as the remote pilot app, it's a $5 app. You can use it as much as you want, you own it, and it just gives you the exact and similar questions as you're going to find on the test. Now, there were a number of questions that were worded very, very strange that aren't necessarily on the exam, that are on the app, but if you become familiar with the verbiage on the app, you'll recognize it on the exam, and that's something that was invaluable to me with that app. So as I said, 60 questions, you have the computer, you have the magnifying glass, you'll be able to use the magnifying glass to blow up any of the images on the chart supplements as they're not a full page. You can also change the font size on the computer when you're testing in case you got some bad eyes. The font was so small, I have pretty good eyes, but the font was so small that I actually had to increase it. But you answer the 60 questions, you can jump around. There's a column in the left side that shows your 60 questions, so if you get done and you want to hop back, you can just click on number 3 and it'll take you back to number 3. You can mark any of them before you go on, and that'll create a little X, a blue dot, so that you know that you weren't quite sure with that question, so that if you have extra time you can go back. It honestly only took me like maybe 35-40 minutes to do the exam, and then I spent another 10 to 15 minutes reviewing all of the check-marked ones that I wasn't quite sure on, and that's definitely a good idea. Is don't accept your first answer, go with your gut instinct. It's really one of those types of exams where there's only 3 possible answers. One's always a Swiss cheese, you know. You got, what's the maximum weight of you can fly as a UAV 107 pilot? 0.55 pounds, does that sound like maximum weight? No, that's a Swiss cheese answer. Is it under 55 pounds or 55 pounds? That's on you guys to figure out. So once you're done completing the exam and you hit submit, you just wave your hand and the proctor of the exam, who's in another room, sees you on camera. They come in, you fill out a short little survey, either in written form or on the computer, talking about how the facility was and how easy the exam was, or how difficult it was and how you would change it. And that's pretty much it. It gives you an instant answer and an instant pass-fail with a percentage, and then it'll print out codes about which ones you got wrong, and you can always look up those codes at a later time if you'd like to study once you need to renew your exam, or once you need to renew your license in 24 months. So the proctor leads you out, she congratulates you, she gives you an official sheet with an embossed logo on it, and I want to say it's CCATS, and that basically certifies you and you know, you're official. You get your license, you have an ID that you have to then register to verify your information, make yourself official in the FAA portal, and then they'll send you off your snazzy looking license. And that's really the process. I mean, it's not that complicated, it's not that difficult. The process sounds like it's a lot more difficult than it is. And again, if you're somebody like me who's very terrible about studying and being diligent, or you're really good with visual aids, Remote Pilot 101, you know, if it's worth the $200 to you or $250, join it. It's a lifetime. You know, you're not having to pay over and over and over again, so it'll help you on your renewals. And then they kind of just lay it out. And I know they update it, so as new laws and new information comes in, that's going to reflect on that website. But if you're pretty good on reading, you do your due diligence, you cram, you spend that last 48 hours just really studying hard, you're not going to need anything more than that Remote Pilot app, which is just a $5 app. Save yourself $195. All right, guys, I demystified the process of getting your 107 license. Simple to do. You don't got to pay hundreds of dollars for these classes. Go visit that Tony Northrup website on YouTube. He has a main website. He's got books if you want, but really the 2-hour video along with his supplementary information and his links you follow gives you practice exams and etc. That's all you really need. The little $5 remote pilot app helps. It's not a be-all end-all, but it definitely, with those two things together, is going to get you a pass. And we'll see you on the next adventure.